Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I want to talk to you about four subjects tonight. The first one is the latest developments from Gaza. We have significant developments in terms of the resistance and their actions against Israel. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is protests in Israel are getting more tense and more thorough, and they are targeting Benjamin Netanyahu now. The third thing that I want to talk to you about is a report in the Israeli Broadcasting Authority about yet another meeting for the War Cabinet that has been cancelled. The fourth thing and final one that I want to talk to you about is Russia's revelations regarding the attack in Moscow that was reportedly done by ISIS. I'm going to start off with the first thing. So, the most significant attack that we had today, it was from the Pflp and Saraya al-Quds, the armed wing of the PIJ. And Pflp's armed wing, Kataib Abu Ali Mustafa, they had a joint missile attack on Israel and on Israeli bases in Gaza. This is very significant. Why? Because they're showing that they still have missile capabilities. Now, we know that they still have missile capabilities. Not like we don't know that they do, but they're proving it to Israel and to the world and everyone observing. Israel is recently saying that they arrested the leadership of Hamas, obviously some of them, and the Palestinian resistance in Al-Shifa hospital that was debunked and that we spoke about. And they're saying that we destroyed all of their capabilities in North Gaza. We only have the remaining brigades in Rafah, yet the Palestinian resistance is coming out and telling them, here you go, missiles on Israel and missiles on Israeli bases in Gaza. And it's very important to highlight that this joint action, Hamas wasn't included in it. So it's from the smaller groups in Gaza. The PIJs, obviously, they are the second largest, but the Pflp, Kataib Abu Ali Mustafa, they're like the third or fourth strongest armed group in Gaza, and they are still showing Israel that we are able to hit you. And they're also showing videos of them manufacturing the weapons to this date. Again, highlighting that the Palestinian resistance is still strong, is still powerful, is defeating Israel, because Israel's objective is obviously to demolish Hamas. If you're not demolishing the smaller groups in Gaza, how are you gonna demolish the Hamas? The Palestinian resistance is still strong, still hitting Israel really hard, and Israel is getting very, very frustrated. Which leads me to the second thing that I want to talk to you about. Walla, a news website in Israel, they published a recent article about the Israeli police supposedly finding out a group of protesters from Israel planning to protest outside Benjamin Netanyahu's house and occupy it. They reported that they found WhatsApp groups that these protesters were speaking in, and they had maps and plans to occupy Benjamin Netanyahu's house after they protest outside of it. They also highlighted that it would be a matter of time up until the protesters do so. So the Israeli police's tone wasn't really threatening. It's like it's a matter of time up until that's done against Benjamin Netanyahu. And at the same time, we also had people flying with paragliders over Benjamin Netanyahu's house with signs and banners saying you're guilty and things blaming him with corruption. The protests in Israel are intensifying. We also had 12 arrests from the Israeli police. They arrested protesters who lit fires across the country in protest, and there were many fires outside the Ministry of Defense again in Israel. They included obviously families of prisoners in Gaza, but also some in the Israeli population as well. Things are getting very, very tense internally in Israel, and it doesn't look like these protests are going anywhere. Even the police are confirming that they're looking to escalate. Even the police are confirming that they are projecting to see more escalations when it comes to the protests, and they are likely to get even more violent. Which leads me to the third thing that I want to talk to you about. Yet another war cabinet meeting cancelled, the second one in less than 7 days. We spoke about the other one, and we spoke about the fights that broke out in many war cabinet meetings previously. You're talking about at least 10 by now. Some of them were canceled. Some of them were canceled while they called them off while they were having them. Other ones, they had fights in them. And another occasion, we had the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, storming into Benjamin Netanyahu's office and threatening to bring an IDF brigade to implement law and order, according to him. But the recent cabinet cancellation was due to undisclosed reasons. They didn't specify why. But what was about to be discussed in this meeting was a briefing from the head of the Mossad regarding the negotiations. And Benjamin Netanyahu made it very clear to the delegation, you are not allowed to reach an agreement. So Benjamin Netanyahu is sending a delegation, but he doesn't want to reach an agreement. He just wants to show people that he's talking, but he doesn't want to reach an agreement with the Palestinians. This could be due to many reasons. Number one, the party is not agreeing, or it could be that the head of the Mossad is taking action that the prime minister does not like, therefore they had to call it off, because he has people monitoring the head of the Mossad to ensure that he's doing what he's being ordered to do. Which leads me to the final thing that I want to talk about. Now, many people will say, oh, don't link Gaza with Ukraine. These things are different. They are different, yes. Ukraine is in Europe and Palestine is in the Middle East. But however, the same powers are behind them. And it's quite ironic that the president of Ukraine, a country that's supposedly being invaded by this evil force, Russia as they claim, is supporting an occupier that is committing a genocide. He's supporting Israel. Zelensky. Let's not forget that. And the same powers are behind him. So it's relevant to speak about Ukraine, especially seeing as these countries are united when it comes to their stance against Russia and against the Palestinian people, despite the fact that they're supporting Ukraine for the same things, at least visibly, that the Palestinians are suffering from. Obviously, you have a counter argument that it's all a front, that they're fighting a proxy war, but we're at least saying in terms of statements. So we have this attack in Moscow, this massive terrorist attack in Moscow, and Moscow just had an interesting revelation. They said that these people who committed this attack were heading back to Ukraine. And it's not surprising. Is it surprising to anyone? Ukraine is becoming the ISIS of the EU, the Ukrainian government particularly, because we want to get people out of the picture as much as possible here. The Ukrainian regime that is fighting a proxy war against Russia is now the ISIS of the EU. They use ISIS whenever they feel like against any government or country that they have a problem with. They used ISIS in the Middle East, they use ISIS against Iran, and they use ISIS against Russia. Has ISIS ever attacked any interests for the US or Israel? Never. They don't. They only attack countries that the US and Israel do not like. And we spoke about ISIS and how they are a massive Western intelligence organization that is planted in these countries to only cause problems and frictions. And they're proving yet again that they are hand in hand and they're tied with ISIS against anything that they do not like. And yet again, we see them blaming the Islamic background of ISIS supposedly, although they created them to give a bad image to Islam. And these were the main things that I want to talk to you about tonight. And I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.